Welcome to another episode of Grubmasters. I'm John, this is Carl, and today we're doing pineapple upside down cake. All right, Carl, so what's the first step in making this cake?
Well, the first thing is we have to start by melting some butter, adding some brown sugar, and we'll get that nice bubbly and warm in the bottom of our Dutch oven that I've got preheating with 1 ring of coals on the top and 1 ring of coals underneath.
All right, awesome. Let's jump in. I'll grab the butter.
All right, I'll get the lid off.
And I got the brown sugar. Right, so we already got a Dutch oven here. What, that's a 12-inch with a liner.
12-inch with a liner.
And we're preheating.
So we've got it preheated. If you want to stick that butter right in there, John, for me.
All right, I'm gonna just dump it all in.
Break that up a little bit.
Break it up.
Took and cut these just a little bit smaller than a tablespoon size, just so it speeds up the process a little bit. We're using a liner. We want to make sure this comes out quick and easy. Plus, we're doing a number of dishes today, and we want to ease with cleanup. You could certainly do this without a liner. Some people never use a liner. Most of the time, I don't either, but just really comes in handy today. I'm going to put about a cup and a half of brown sugar in here.
And we should say that this is a gently used liner. We just use this for another dish, so all those little bits are basically going to just add to the goodness of this.
We did another dish. We did the monkey bread. You may have seen that episode. It uses basically the same beginning with the brown sugar and the butter. So we figure why not use it for this dish as well and do both in a row. Great. We stick the lid on.
Let that melt
and that'll, in the meantime, we got plenty of work we could do over here getting the cake ready.
All right, so while that's all melting and getting all bubblelicious, let's talk about ingredients.
So we're basically going to use a yellow cake mix. The only difference, besides following the directions on the back where we have 3 eggs, half a cup of oil, instead of a cup of water, we're going to use whatever juices are in the can of the pineapple slices. And if we run a little short, which typically you do, like slightly less than a cup, then we'll supplement with water.
Okay.
But otherwise, we'll be following the same directions. If you want to do the honors with the oil, I'll do the eggs.
So half cup of oil.
3 eggs. Just stick that right in there. And John, if you want to do the honors and whisk that.
All right.
If I could steal that measuring cup from you. Thanks. Keeping the lid partially on keeps the slices in there without falling out. So we're just shy of a cup there. So why don't we, if you can mix that in, I'm going to grab a little extra water.
Smells like pineapples.
So there's that extra water we needed. So mix that together. Come on. Great. So now we're just going to mix up our cake batter just like we normally would. Now we don't have any fancy beaters or anything here. We're just using a whisk. I'm going to take and just make sure there's no clumps in the cake mix. Don't try pulling the bag apart. It never comes out. Just get a knife.
You get poof, cloud
Poof.
of cake. All right,
Oop.
so just gonna mix this through.
Don't throw away your box. It's a great whisk rest. I'm going to go check on that Dutch oven, see how that butter's doing. It's
Bubblelicious.
Bubblelicious. I'm actually gonna take it off the heat here for a second. Just for the time being, I'm going to buffer this Dutch oven in between here. So that looks great, John. All right, so our next step, good mixed.
We're all set mixed here.
Beautiful. Is we're going to go in with the pineapples.
Oh, that's right. We can't forget about these cherries.
So John, you got your hat cam.
Yeah, let's get in here.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to take and put the pineapple circles in here. Do a nice pattern. John's getting a nice ring of or a cherry right in the middle of each pineapple ring. Now there's two that are left in there, and I know I could probably squeeze them in, but
Two's
two,
a good number.
1, 2.
Yeah.
Leftovers. All right.
All right, beautiful.
Got nicely laid out. What I love when I dump these in here is when that brown sugar starts bubbling up on the ends. And the butter.
It's almost like the cake displaces that butter on the edges. That's beautiful.
We've got butter in the bottom there, and the butter came right up the side, so we really don't even need to spray this down with oil. So we'll put the lid on that.
And how long, Carl?
So it's going to take whatever time it would take to bake a cake, maybe a little bit more because we've got a little extra liquid in there with the butter and the...
Right. Yeah, so the key to this cake is it's going to come out so moist, and it's just going to be pineapple-y through and through because we use that juice in there instead of the water. So
you'll notice that we're using this hog feeding pan, and we preheated it. Our coals are getting a little light there, so I'm going to add a little bit more. We're using the ring method of coals. So I'm going to go by mass. I'm not going to count. John's going to give me a nice ring, dispersing the fresh coals in between some of those old coals. One of the challenges is your food is right up against the bottom of the Dutch oven, right against that cast iron. So it's always difficult making sure that you do your heat management so you don't burn the bottom. The top, we have an air space in between.
Right, so most people will put way too much heat on the bottom, and they're going to end up with a nice, let's just say burnt crust. And especially with a pineapple upside down cake, there's no way to hide that. Once you flip it over, it's visible. So you definitely want to err on the side of caution with this and put less coals rather than more coals on the bottom.
And what I'm going to do now is just every third coal, I'm going to throw a fresh coal in here. And as this bakes, every 10 minutes or so, we're going to take, and I'll show you in a second where we're going to spin the lid, and then we're going to spin the whole pot, because what we want to do is we want to even out that heat that's coming from each one of these individual coals so you don't get a hot spot or a raw spot. So just do it by pushing down on the lid. Don't lift up. You'll lose your heat that's inside. Plus it helps keep the ash out. Then I'm just going to take and give my Dutch oven a spin, and we're good to go.
Yeah, so we'll spin about every 10 minutes, and this is going to take really as long as it takes.
Yeah.
So we'll just keep watching it, and once we could smell it, we pretty much know it's going to be done.
Yep.
And
we'll do it as standard. We'll take the knife, we'll dip it in, see if it comes out clean. We'll know it's done.
All right, so next time you see us, we'll be doing just that. It's ready for the knife test.
Let me pop the lid on this bad boy. Woo!
Yeah, I can already tell it's ready. It's brown on the edges. It's brown. Well, some of that's probably just molten bubble goodness that came up through. But
pulling away a little from the edges.
Yeah, it's coming out clean. It's ready.
One of the keys will be getting this thing out of there before it cools off.
Yeah.
And it sticks like glue.
So let's see how good we could do.
So I'm gonna, John, you want to do me a favor and grab a paper towel?
Sure.
Just gonna wipe the lid off. One of these Mar lid lifters, Lodge makes one, Camp Chef makes one. They're great because I can move this lid around any way I want versus if I were using a hammer or one of the old school Dutch oven lid lifters. So I've got my welding gloves on, or my Dutch oven gloves. And you ready, John?
I'm ready for the reveal.
So I'm gonna take underneath here.
There's a reason why Carl does this and I don't.
So a moment of truth.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
I almost got in the center of the lid too.
Wow.
That's beautiful.
That came out fantastic.
It
And
did.
smell it. Smells like butter. Well, everything we do has butter. I mean, that sounds a little redundant, but I mean, that looks really good. Let's just rip into this thing. I'm gonna just make a...
Nice spatula.
cut there. I'm gonna just spoon it out.
Oh, look at
Okay,
that.
that came out. There you go. Wow.
Oh, the cake is moist. Cake is moist. Pineapple isn't burnt, and really looks good.
Oh, you got the cherry. I did that wrong.
The brown sugar, the pineapple juice in the cake mix doesn't get any better than that.
I think the Dutch oven holds all that moisture in there so nicely, and just makes for a great, great tasting cake. So, all right, we hope you like what you see. We hope you've inspired you to do something outside. If you like what you saw, give us a thumbs up.
Subscribe too.
Subscribe and share. See you next time.